This story is titled, Fiancé Refused to Stop His Best Man's Speech at Our Wedding, even though I knew it would be a disaster because of my past. Hey everyone! The channel's been slowing down a bit, and I spend so much time finding these stories for you. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button. It means the world and helps keep this journey going strong. Let's grow together. Now let's start the video. OP starts by saying, Hey Reddit, I don't even know where to start with this. I guess I should give some backstory first. So, my fiancé Ryan, 30 male, and I, 29 female, have been together seriously since 2021. But we've known each other forever. Like, we grew up in the same friend group, and everyone's been close since middle school. It's one of those groups where people have come and gone over the years, but the core group stayed tight. Ryan's best man, Zach, 30 male, has been his best friend since before I even met him. He's always been a big personality in our group, the guy who jokes around and sometimes crosses the line, but means well, or so I thought. The other two groomsmen, Chris, 29 male, and Mike, 28 male, are also part of this core group, though they've always been more chill. To set the scene a bit more, I should mention Zach and I also go way back. We met in 6th grade, and I had the biggest crush on him back then. It was kind of obvious. I mean, I was super tall and awkward for my age, and he was one of the only guys my height, so everyone teased me about liking him. Zach made it clear early on he wasn't interested, which was fine. Honestly, looking back, I cringe at how obvious my crush was. But whatever, it was middle school. We both moved on, and our friendship grew from there. Over the years, that old crush just became a running joke between us. Like, I'd laugh about how I used to have a thing for him, and he'd tease me about it in a lighthearted way. It was never anything weird, and I thought we were on the same page about it being harmless. But lately, I don't know. Zach's jokes have been hitting differently. It started small. He'd make comments when the whole group was hanging out about how he dated me first, which, for the record, is not true. I brushed it off at first because, like I said, Zach has always been a joker. But over the past few months, the comments have become more frequent and more uncomfortable. The worst part? Ryan didn't seem to notice. Or maybe he just didn't care. Every time Zach made one of those comments, Ryan would laugh along like it was no big deal. I didn't want to be the buzzkill who couldn't take a joke, so I kept quiet about how it made me feel. I just told myself, this is Zach being Zach. He doesn't mean anything by it. I regret brushing it off now. I should have said something the first time it crossed the line, but I didn't, and now things have spiraled. The big turning point came last weekend when Ryan and I invited Chris and Mike over to hang out. We were just chilling, talking about wedding stuff, when Chris and Mike shared this awkward look. Like, you know when someone clearly wants to say something but isn't sure if they should? That's exactly what was happening. Finally, after a bit of awkwardness, Chris spoke up. Hey, we need to tell you something about Zach, he said. At first, I thought maybe Zach had done something dumb at work, or gotten into trouble with a girl. But then Chris continued, and my stomach dropped. Zach's been talking about his best man speech, Chris said, glancing at Mike. And, well, he's got this idea for a story he wants to share. It's, about Anna. Mike jumped in to clarify. Yeah, he's been joking about how Anna has, made her way through the group, and I just sat there, stunned. I didn't even know how to react. What does that even mean? I asked. Chris and Mike hesitated, clearly uncomfortable. He's basically making it sound like you've dated or, been with every guy in the group before ending up with Ryan, Mike explained. My heart was pounding. For context, I did have 2 little middle school flings in the group before Ryan. One was with Chris. It was a classic, awkward first date where our parents dropped us off at the movies and picked us up after. The other was a short relationship with Mike in 8th grade that lasted all of 3 months and involved holding hands and a very cringe-worthy hallway hug. That's it. Ryan is the only one I've ever dated seriously, and he's the only one I've been intimate with. The fact that Zach was twisting my innocent middle school history into something gross was beyond humiliating. Chris and Mike assured me they'd told Zach it was inappropriate, but his response, don't worry, Anna's maid of honor is proofreading all the speeches, so I can't get away with it anyway. But what if I could? What if I could? Those words have been echoing in my head ever since. Like, who even thinks like that? Who even says something like that? It wasn't just a bad joke, it was malicious. Zach wasn't just trying to make a joke at my expense. He was actively trying to humiliate me in front of everyone we love on one of the most important days of our lives. Ryan was quiet through most of this conversation, which honestly hurt. I kept looking at him, expecting him to jump in and say something like, "That's unacceptable. I'll talk to Zach." But he didn't. He just sat there, nodding along as Chris and Mike filled us in. After Chris and Mike left, I tried to bring it up with Ryan. So, what do you think about what they said? I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. Ryan shrugged. I mean, it's Zach. You know how he is. He's always been a little over the top with his jokes. I felt my stomach sink. Ryan, this isn't just a joke. He's planning to stand up at our wedding and make me look like I don't even know what. How is that okay? It's not, Ryan said quickly. I'll talk to him. But the way he said it felt half-hearted, like he didn't really see the big deal. I didn't push it that night because I was already exhausted, but the whole situation has been eating at me ever since. I don't know what's going on with Zach. He's never acted like this before. Sure, he's always had a big personality and a bit of an ego, but this feels different. Ever since his long-term girlfriend broke up with him last year, he's been off, bitter, even. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but part of me wonders if this is about jealousy. Like, maybe seeing Ryan and me get married is making him realize something about his own life, and he's projecting that onto us. Or maybe he's just an asshole. I don't know. All I know is that I can't ignore this anymore. The next day, I decided to confide in my maid of honor, Emily, 29 female. She's been my best friend since college, so she knows me better than anyone. When I told her what Chris and Mike said, she was livid. Anna, this isn't a joke, she said. This is Zach trying to humiliate you. If he's willing to pull something like this, what else is he capable of? Hearing her say it out loud made it all feel so much worse. I had been trying to rationalize Zach's behavior, telling myself he didn't really mean it, but Emily was right. This wasn't just a joke that went too far. This was malicious. Emily didn't stop there either. You need to set some boundaries, she said. If Zach can't respect you, he has no business being at your wedding, let alone standing up there as Ryan's best man. Her words stuck with me. Zach and I had been friends for so long that I didn't want to believe he'd do something like this on purpose. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized this wasn't about me being sensitive or overreacting. Zach had crossed a line, and if I didn't address it now, it was only going to get worse. Later that night, I brought it up with Ryan again. Have you talked to Zach yet? I asked. He looked up from his phone, clearly caught off guard. Not yet, he said. I was going to give it a couple of days. I don't want to come at him when I'm still mad. I bit my tongue, but I was frustrated. Ryan, this isn't just about you being mad. Zach is planning to humiliate me, us, in front of everyone we care about. This isn't something you can just brush off. He sighed again, and I could tell he was getting defensive. I said I'd talk to him, Anna. Can you just trust me to handle it? I nodded, but inside I wasn't so sure. Ryan and Zach had been best friends for so long that I didn't know if Ryan could really hold him accountable. I wanted to trust Ryan, but I also couldn't shake the feeling that Zach's behavior wasn't going to change. The whole situation has left me feeling stuck. On one hand, I don't want to blow up our friend group or ruin Ryan's relationship with Zach. But on the other hand, I can't let Zach disrespect me like this. Not at my own wedding, and not in general. I don't know what's going on with Zach. He's always had a big personality and a bit of an ego, but this feels different. Ever since his breakup with his long-term girlfriend last year, he's been acting bitter and kind of mean, especially toward women. I don't want to assume anything, but part of me wonders if this is about jealousy. Maybe seeing Ryan and me get married is making him realize something about his own life, and he's projecting that onto us. Or maybe he's just a jerk. I don't know. All I know is that I can't ignore this anymore. After the conversations with Chris, Mike, and Emily, I started seeing things about Zach that I hadn't really noticed before. Or maybe I'd just been ignoring them. For years, I chalked up his behavior to his personality. Zach's always been the type of guy who dominates a room, cracks inappropriate jokes, and pushes boundaries. But this? This wasn't just Zach being Zach. This was different. I spent the next few days replaying everything in my head. It wasn't just the jokes about me being passed around the group. There was a pattern to Zach's behavior over the last year or so that I hadn't put together until now. Zach's long-term girlfriend, Natalie, broke up with him about a year ago. They were together for almost 5 years, and when she ended it, he was devastated. At first, I felt bad for him. We all did. Breakups are hard, especially after such a long relationship. But instead of healing and moving on, Zach seemed to spiral. He started making bitter comments about relationships and, more specifically, about women. At first, it was subtle. He'd joke about gold diggers or how women always want more than they deserve. I remember feeling uncomfortable, but I brushed it off because, well, it was Zach. That's just how he talks, right? But now, looking back, I can see how those little comments snowballed into something bigger. Zach wasn't just bitter about his breakup. He was turning into a full-blown misogynist. One night, a few months after Natalie left, Zach got drunk at a party and started ranting about how nice guys always finish last. I remember him saying something like, "You can do everything right, and they'll still leave you for someone with a bigger bank account or better abs." He was looking right at me when he said it, which felt weird, but I didn't think much of it at the time. Now, though, I can't help but wonder if he was projecting his bitterness onto me and Ryan. Speaking of Ryan, I started noticing that Zach's attitude toward him had changed too. They'd always been best friends, inseparable really, but over the past year, Zach's jokes about Ryan had taken on a different tone. He'd make comments about Ryan being whipped or how he'd lucked out with me. Once, when Ryan was talking about our wedding plans, Zach interrupted him with, "You sure you're ready to lock it down? Marriage is a trap, man." Ryan laughed it off, but I could tell it bothered him. He just didn't want to admit it. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that Zach's behavior wasn't just about me. It was about Ryan too. Zach couldn't stand the fact that Ryan was moving forward in life while he was stuck. Ryan was the first in our group to get engaged, and now he was about to be the first to get married. Zach had always been the one who seemed to have it all together. The good job, the long-term relationship, the confident personality. But now, Ryan was the one settling down and building a future. And Zach wasn't. That's when it hit me. Zach's jokes weren't jokes at all. They were his way of dragging us down to his level. He couldn't stand to see us happy, so he was trying to ruin it. After a few days of stewing over everything, I decided to confront Ryan again. I needed him to see what I was seeing. That Zach wasn't just being Zach, he was being toxic. "Ryan, we need to talk about Zach," I said one night after dinner. Ryan sighed, clearly not thrilled to be having this conversation again. "What about him?" "I don't think you're taking this seriously enough," I said. "This isn't just a joke that went too far. Zach is trying to humiliate me and you at our wedding. Don't you see that?" Ryan rubbed his temples. "I told you I'd talk to him, Anna. I don't think he means it the way you think he does." I felt my frustration boiling over. How else am I supposed to take it, Ryan? He's literally planning to stand up in front of our family and friends and make me look like someone I'm not. How is that okay? Ryan didn't have an answer. He just sat there, staring at the table. Finally, I said, "You need to talk to him. Soon. Because if he doesn't apologize and fix this, I don't want him at the wedding." Ryan's head snapped up. "You don't want him at the wedding? He's my best man, Anna. He's been my best friend since we were kids. And I'm your fiancé," I shot back. "Or does that not matter?" He looked torn, and for a moment, I thought he was going to argue with me. But then he nodded. "I'll talk to him." I felt a small wave of relief, but it didn't last long. I could tell Ryan wasn't fully on board. He still didn't see Zach's behavior as a big deal, and that scared me. If he couldn't stand up to Zach now, what was going to happen when Zach inevitably pushed boundaries again? The next day, Ryan finally called Zach to talk. I wasn't in the room, but I could hear bits and pieces of the conversation. It didn't sound like it was going well. After about 10 minutes, Ryan came back into the living room, looking frustrated. "Well?" I asked. "He said he didn't mean anything by it," Ryan said. "He said it was just a joke and that you're blowing it out of proportion." I stared at him in disbelief. "And what did you say?" "I told him it wasn't okay and that he needed to apologize to you," Ryan said. "But I don't think he's going to." Of course he wasn't. Zach never apologized for anything. He always found a way to make himself the victim. At that moment, I realized something that broke my heart. Zach wasn't the person I thought he was. The friend I'd known since middle school, the guy who used to make me laugh and always had my back, was gone. Or maybe he'd never really existed in the first place. I don't know what's going to happen next. Ryan says he's on my side, but I can tell he's struggling with how to handle this. Zach isn't just his best man. He's his best friend. And as much as I hate to admit it, I think Ryan is afraid of losing him. But here's the thing. If Zach can't respect me, or Ryan, enough to drop the jokes and apologize, then maybe he's not a friend worth keeping. Update 1 point. After Ryan's conversation with Zach, I was left feeling even more unsettled. Zach's refusal to apologize wasn't just disappointing. It was a slap in the face. This wasn't just a misunderstanding or a bad joke. It was deliberate. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he didn't care. The fact that Ryan still seemed hesitant to take a firm stance made everything worse. I know Zach is his best friend and has been for years. But at some point, there has to be a line, right? If this isn't crossing it, then what is? I decided to take matters into my own hands. If Zach wasn't going to apologize and Ryan wasn't going to push harder, I had to protect myself. First, I called Emily, my maid of honor, to vent and brainstorm a plan. "Ryan talked to him," I told her. "Zach basically said he didn't mean anything by it and that I'm overreacting." Emily let out an audible sigh. That's such a non-apology. He doesn't even think he did anything wrong. What did Ryan say? He told Zach it wasn't okay and that he needed to apologize to me, but Zach didn't. Ryan says he's on my side, but I can tell he's torn. Of course he's torn, Emily said. He's been friends with Zach for, 15 years? He probably feels like he's stuck between the two of you. Well, he needs to get unstuck, I said, frustration boiling over. This is our wedding. If Zach can't respect me, or us, then he shouldn't be there. Emily paused for a moment, then said, You know what you need to do? Take control of the situation. If Ryan won't step up, then you have to. Start with the speeches. No way should Zach have a mic at this wedding. She was right. I couldn't risk Zach using the wedding as his stage for some twisted joke. I talked to Ryan about it that night. Ryan, we need to have a serious conversation about the wedding, I said. He looked up from his laptop, already bracing himself. Okay. I don't want Zach giving a speech, I said bluntly. In fact, I don't want anyone giving a speech unless we approve it first. Ryan frowned. You don't trust him? No, I don't, I said. And honestly, I don't think you do either. Do you really think Zach isn't capable of saying something inappropriate, even after you talk to him? Ryan hesitated. I don't know. I'd like to think he wouldn't, but you're not sure, I finished for him. Exactly. And I'm not willing to take that risk. Ryan nodded slowly. Okay. No speeches unless we approve them first. I can talk to the DJ too, just in case. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was something. At least I wouldn't have to sit there on my wedding day, worrying that Zach was going to humiliate me in front of everyone we know. But even with the speeches under control, I still felt uneasy about Zach being there at all. Every time I thought about him sitting in the front row, watching me walk down the aisle, I felt sick. I brought it up with Ryan the next day. I'm not sure I want Zach at the wedding, I said carefully. Ryan froze. Anna, he's my best man. And he's also someone who has been disrespecting me for months, I said. You said you'd talk to him, and he didn't even apologize. He doesn't think he did anything wrong, Ryan. Do you really want someone like that standing next to you on our wedding day? Ryan sighed and ran his hands through his hair. I get it, Anna. I do, but cutting him out of the wedding entirely? That feels extreme. Does it? I asked. Because to me, it feels like the bare minimum. He's been actively trying to humiliate me, Ryan. If the roles were reversed, if one of my bridesmaids was trashing you like this, what would you want me to do? Ryan didn't answer right away. Finally, he said, I'd want you to cut her out. Exactly. We left the conversation there for the night, but I could tell it was weighing on Ryan. He didn't want to admit it, but he knew I was right. Zach's behavior wasn't just about me, it was about us. By disrespecting me, Zach was disrespecting our relationship. And by refusing to hold him accountable, Ryan was letting it happen. The next day, Ryan told me he needed some time to think. I'm not saying no, he said, but this is a big decision. I need to figure out how to handle it. I agreed to give him space, but deep down, I was starting to worry. If Ryan couldn't stand up to Zach now, what did that mean for our future? Would I always come second to his best friend? Would Zach always have this kind of power over us? While Ryan was thinking things over, I started putting plans in place to protect myself. I talked to Emily about some backup ideas, just in case Zach did end up at the wedding. We decided to assign one of the groomsmen, probably Chris, since he seemed the most reasonable, to keep an eye on Zach and step in if he started acting out. I also asked the DJ to cut the mic immediately if anyone went off script during the speeches. It felt ridiculous to have to plan for this kind of thing, but I didn't have a choice. Meanwhile, Ryan stayed quiet. I could tell he was struggling, and part of me felt bad for putting him in this position. But at the same time, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just about Zach. This was about Ryan and me, and whether or not we were really on the same team. A week went by, and Ryan still hadn't made a decision. Every time I brought it up, he said he was still thinking. I tried to be patient, but it was hard. The wedding was only a few months away, and I needed to know where we stood. Finally, I sat Ryan down and said, We need to make a decision about Zach. I can't keep waiting for you to figure this out. This is our wedding, Ryan. We're supposed to be a team. He nodded slowly. I know, Anna, and I promise I'll have an answer soon. I wanted to believe him, but something in his voice made me nervous. I couldn't shake the feeling that Zach wasn't the only thing Ryan was doubting. Update 2.0. I wish I could say that things got better after Ryan said he needed time to think about Zach. I wanted to believe that he'd come to the right decision, that he'd put our relationship first and stand up for me. But instead of clarity, all I got was more silence, more avoidance, and eventually a gut-wrenching conversation I'll never forget. The week after Ryan said he was still thinking about Zach, I could tell something was off. He wasn't just distant. He was actively avoiding me. When we were home together, he'd bury himself in work or mindlessly scroll on his phone. When I tried to bring up wedding plans, He'd give half-hearted responses like, "Let's figure it out later." It felt like I was planning this wedding alone. I tried to convince myself that it was just stress. Weddings are a lot, and the Zach situation definitely wasn't helping. But deep down, I knew it was more than that. Something had shifted between us, and I didn't know how to fix it. Then, one night, everything came to a head. We were sitting on the couch, eating takeout, when I decided to bring up the wedding timeline. "Hey," I said, trying to keep my tone light, "we should probably finalize the ceremony schedule soon. The venue needs the details by next week." Ryan didn't look up from his food. "Yeah, sure." "Ryan," I said, more firmly this time, "can we talk about this? I need your input." He sighed and set his fork down. "Anna, I don't know if I can do this right now." My heart sank. "Do what?" "All of it," he said, running a hand through his hair. "The wedding, the planning, the pressure. I feel like I can't breathe." I stared at him, not sure how to respond. "What are you saying?" He hesitated, like he was trying to find the right words. "I'm saying I need time, Anna. Time to figure out if this is really what I want." It felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. "If this is what you want?" I repeated. "Ryan, we've been planning this wedding for a year. You proposed to me. What do you mean you don't know if this is what you want?" He looked away, unable to meet my eyes. I don't know. All this drama with Zach has made me question everything. Like, if we can't even get through this, what happens when things get harder? I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. "Are you blaming this on me?" I asked, my voice shaking. "Because I won't let your best friend humiliate me at our wedding?" "No," he said quickly. "It's not about Zach. It's not just about Zach. It's about us. I feel like we've been fighting so much lately, and I don't know if that's normal." "We've been fighting because of Zach," I snapped. "Because he's been disrespecting me, and you won't do anything about it." "I did talk to him," Ryan said defensively. "But you want me to cut him out of my life entirely. Do you know how hard that is for me? And do you know how hard it is for me to feel like I'm not your priority?" I shot back. "Ryan, I'm supposed to be your partner, your teammate. But right now it feels like Zach is more important to you than I am." He shook his head. "That's not true." "Then prove it," I said. "Stand up for me. Tell Zach he's not welcome at the wedding if he can't apologize. Show me that I matter to you." Ryan didn't say anything. He just sat there, staring at the floor. Finally, he said, "I can't make that decision right now." I felt tears welling up in my eyes. "So what does that mean for us?" He took a deep breath and looked at me for the first time all night. "It means I need time, Anna. Time to figure out if I'm ready for this. For marriage. For everything." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. After everything we'd been through, years of dating, months of planning, countless conversations about our future, he was suddenly unsure if he even wanted to get married. It felt like my entire world was crumbling. "When did you start feeling like this?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know," he admitted. "Maybe it's been there for a while and I just didn't want to admit it. But the Zach thing? It brought everything to the surface. I've been so focused on making you happy and keeping the peace that I haven't stopped to think about what I want." "And what do you want?" I asked, even though I wasn't sure I wanted to hear the answer. "I don't know," he said again. "That's why I need time." I felt a lump forming in my throat. "How much time?" He shrugged helplessly. "A few weeks? Maybe a month? I'm going to stay with my brother for a while. I think we both need some space." And just like that, he was packing a bag and leaving. I stood in the doorway, watching him go, feeling a mix of heartbreak, anger, and confusion. How had we gotten here? How had Zach's stupid, selfish behavior led to this? But as I sat alone in our quiet apartment, I started to wonder if this really was just about Zach. Maybe he was just the catalyst for something that had been simmering under the surface for a long time. Maybe Ryan's doubts had nothing to do with Zach at all. Maybe he wasn't ready to get married, and this was his way of finally admitting it. I don't know what's going to happen next. The wedding is on hold, and so is our relationship. Ryan says he needs time, but I don't know if I can wait around for him to figure out if he wants to be with me. Part of me feels like I deserve better. Someone who knows they want me without hesitation. But another part of me just wants things to go back to the way they were before all of this started. For now, I'm just taking it one day at a time. I've leaned on Emily and my family for support, and they've been amazing. But no matter how much advice I get, I know the decision ultimately comes down to me. Do I wait for Ryan? Or do I walk away and start over? Please Reddit help me with this.